Well, that was weird. Welcome back to Suladan Plays Dark Souls 3. Last time, we spent a while trying to knock Midir off a bridge. So yeah, there was that. Now I've got to remember how to get to the... If you remember a while back, there was a fog wall. There was a door, behind which was... well, behind which we don't know, because I never got to go through it, because I never knocked Midir off the bridge, so the fog wall wouldn't let me go through it. Little hallway, kind of stone, kind of like this, had some statues on the other side. Oh, sheesh. No, it ain't this way. I remember you. You annoying goobers. Annoying goobers. Is it this way? No. I don't remember how to get there. Might be a problem. I know that door led to that other boss. Oh, hey, I remember you.
One was a wayfaring knight on an endless, forbidden search. Fear not that many of us are by I speak. Behold, fear not, and let the...
Let me see what the other one's...
One.
There we go.
Only the abyss granted closure. Fear not, and let the feast...
You're spooky. Oh, how did I get there again? Nope, 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 it's not up there. Love that ability. It's lightning stake. You can get it from the centipede, not centipede, the sandworm down in Carthus. Yeah, no, it's not there. I know it's not there. I know it's not there. Could it be down there? Rim City Streets, maybe? It's kind of like a melee range lightning spear. You take the lightning spear, you stab it into the ground, and it, you know, does a full-on lightning bolt. You'd get caught in some of the collateral damage, though. But, you know, not in Dark Souls. I love shields that allow you to do your weapon skill. Could it be this way? Nope. Ringed Knight. It's been brought up to me also that the Ringed Knights do bear somewhat of a resemblance to the Dark Wraiths. Don't know if that's relevant or not, but you do see, you know, Silver Knight armor and all, but then you've got Ringed Knights, which are apparently a good source of souls for soul farming. I don't know, haven't done it. Not with them. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to jump cut until I just figure out where they're at. Where Midir is. If it's not in the shared grave, then if you know, we'll see. I don't know. It's been a while. I don't remember. Ow. Okay, no, this is where we knocked him off the bridge, so it has to be past here, you're right. And we knocked him down there. So yeah, maybe it is here. Oh, I love my stamina bar. I love having lots of stamina. Okay, Mr. Beyblade, we ain't dealing with you today. It wasn't up here, because that leads out there. That's where that other thing was. Could it be down here? No, that goes up. Well, we know it ain't that. Geographically, it should be somewhere in here. Don't tempt me to come after you, buddy. I know you've got something to do with the pilgrims, because you've got that shell on your back like they do. Wait, that is how I got up here. So that's the same bonfire. It's just... Oh, this world. I saw a window. Can't remember which side it was on. There it is. I've surely been over here. Could this be what I'm looking for? I bet it is. Yep. Here it is. Because here's the, well, there was a fog wall here before, but... Oh, no, you're... Oh, I wasn't trying to go in just yet. This is a deeper hole than I thought. Ow. Oh, hi, Midir. I don't wanna. Oh, Midir. I really don't want to fight you. You're going to slaughter me. Please target lock. Okay, come on. There we go. Control glitch. Oh, yeah, 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 hey, 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 hey! Hold still. That's enough. No berserk nonsense. And one-shotted. I know part of it's the fact that I don't know his moveset, but we are already running into that problem I have where bosses of a sufficient size... I would really love to see the camera pan out on larger bosses. I just really would. It would, to me, allow you a little bit more control while, you know, making the boss fights feel a bit more epic. But there is a downside. I have seen somebody use a camera trick to... They used a free camera thing and showed what Yorm looks like zoomed out. And at the same time, having him look almost normal sized, as much as it makes it easier to keep track of your character, it also can make the boss fight feel a little bit less immense in scale. So there's pros and cons to it. I am gonna have to rely on... This isn't where I went. This is where I went. I am gonna have to rely on probably not target locking. That's what I'm trying to say, which is a pain because it puts my hand in a weird position. Because it means I have to use my left thumb to control the camera controls while keeping my left middle finger on the R1, my index finger for the, XO and all that, and then that puts all the controller's weight more supported by my pinky. It ends up cramping my hand up if I do it for too long. Tiny bloodstain, you're mine. I'm gonna lose it eventually, but I'm gonna claim it for now. Okay, okay. Can you... Oh, I cannot deal with you not... Lack of camera lock really messes with me. And I die to the exact same move. With my great shield up and target locked, so we know my shield was aiming in the right direction. Oh, this is gonna be fun, isn't it? It's kind of sad when I look back and say that I miss Calamite. Calamite's a pain to fight, but at least I can tell what's going on in the arena. Midir is just kind of berserk stomping around, and it is unique. I've not seen another dragon enemy in this game do that. I'm just not yet getting the feel for what on earth is going on. His wild flailing around is problematic to me. When enemies flail around wildly, it makes me tend more towards defensive movement, so I want to stay locked on and hide behind my shield, but he's flailing around so much that it's hard for me to avoid some of it, like this right here. It's beautiful animation-wise, but it's really a pain to avoid. Can I land a hit? Okay, you've got a lot of health. Okay, and if you hit him, where is he? Where is he? FromSoft, if I had one thing to beg of you, please make games where target lock doesn't break. Even if you have to just make an exception cases for bosses like this, I would rather my target lock stay locked. I don't know what happened. It was off screen. It makes me sad because I see so much work went into these animations and these movements and these attacks, and I want to enjoy the fight. But 90% of the fight, all I get to see is a close-up of a dragon's leg. I don't get to enjoy and absorb and appreciate all of these animations and movements because they're off screen. Artistically, that bothers me. I mean, not claiming I'm an artist, but I mean, I should have said aesthetically that bothers me because I don't feel like I get to fully absorb what's going on. It's like I'm blindfolded and just kind of bashing at its leg, hoping for luck to be in my favor. There is also the fact that, you know, again, we've fallen into that. There's only one target lock position on Midir. We've done this before. There should be target locks on the legs for dragons. Target lock should be a lot stickier, but that's a general problem with Dark Souls 3. The target lock breaks easily. I think they wanted to do that to try to make that a mechanic thing, where, oh, you've got to regain target lock, but it generally frustrates players. At least the ones that use target lock. I know there are people out there that don't target lock. A boss like Midir, you don't really get too much of a choice in the matter. Don't lunge. Don't lunge. And here it comes. Ha-ha! Ole! Run, 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 run. Doot the tail, doot the tail. Okay, see, I'm getting to see a little bit more of it. Still not fond of the weird claw-handed method I've got to use for non-target lock. Don't you laser breath at me. We know he can do it. And here it comes. Didn't know it had a sweep to it. That's a beautiful screenshot. But yeah, I really do want to like the Midir fight. He moves so differently to other dragons that I've seen in Dark Souls. I like the way that, I'm guessing he's still angry about being swatted off the bridge, so he's still kind of in that enraged state. And I really can feel that in the way he moves, in the way he kind of berserkly stomps around, unlike a lot of the other dragons. You know, Calamite did a lot of airborne tricks, which was, well, not as much as Sin, but each one has felt different. And yeah, I guess we could consider Seeds to be one too, but he was more of a sorcerer fight-wise. I don't know. Anyway, he had the whole crystal gimmick going on, so we're just going to leave it at that. It's a little frustrating, however, because I feel like Midir would turn into a 30-minute, you know, hit him in the leg, run, 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 hit him in the leg, run, 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 hit him in the leg, you know, on and on and on, the same. A more of an endurance match. Can you dodge him? Can you dodge him long enough? Which is basically what happens with a dragon, don't get me wrong. See, that's all gorgeous, and especially at a distance. If I was a ranged fighter, I could really get to look and see a lot of that. But as it is, you know, I'm lucky to get 1 or 2 hits on him before I've got to run for my life. Given how much health he is, I'm just dreading the amount of time it takes, and the fact that one wrong move can put me right back at the start. I don't know what that was, but... Nope, stay back. Ooh! I didn't expect it to arc right towards me. Well played. And that hurt. That one was on me. I'll take that one. I should have seen that one coming. Stomp or stomp. You can turn while you're doing that? Yeah, that's nice. I don't like that, but, you know. Need to move, need to move! I couldn't. Because his tail was off screen, I couldn't be sure he was doing that, and I couldn't see it in order to know the timing. Still my fault, but... You know, I just have mixed feelings design-wise as a result. I know he is ranked as one of the hardest bosses, and I think part of it is just mechanic, you know, you're fighting the game's own mechanics of, I can't see what's going on. I would wonder how different the fight might be for somebody that uses, like, you know, crossbow. Which I could, in theory, swap to that and, you know, try it. But, you know, we'll see. I'm surviving longer. That's, you know, that's kind of what I'm taking away from this. And considering to be an improvement. I also thank them for not having fall damage on that. I wouldn't put it past them in a Dark Souls game to have some fall damage from that. So I'm just glad there's not. If I could get near him during that, I could do a lot. Ooh, I forgot he can pick either direction to do that second sweep with. Oh, I thought I made it a little further back. Tail! I was out of range, but still better to roll and survive. I don't like that my shield doesn't work against that. That just annoys me. I can block a laser attack, but I can't block that. Dead. There was no escaping that. I'd have needed a Monster Hunter Superman dive panic bomb to get out of that. But yeah, I'm getting to where I can survive at least. The main issue long run I would see is the fact that even if I survive, it's a matter of if I take, you know, a couple hits and boom, I'm out of the running completely. Also, yes, I'm aware that I have missed a number of things. There's like a max of 15 Estises and Estus up to plus 10. So yeah, that would be helping a little bit there. Actually, I've missed a lot of things. NPCs, items, covenants. And he's so far away, by the time I get over to him, he'll be ready for his next attack, which I'm thankful I'm far away from. Not the one I thought was coming though. I expected a lunge. I still haven't seemed to have figured out the trajectory on that. It seems like he may be able to pick it. Don't use fire whip at me. If I didn't have so much stamina, I'd be wasting so much just trying to stay in range. Give me them toes. Come on, stamina. Come back. Well, I did outrun it that time. Didn't think you'd lunge forward that much. Whoa, okay, that's That's not the attack I thought you were doing, but it still had an area of effect on it. Dead. He's either got at least 4 different trajectories he can take with that, or it's completely unique every time. I've seen him go a slight offset like that. I've seen him go slight offset like that. I've seen him go a sharp. I've seen him go sharp. So one guess would be that he can angle it at his discretion. It's in a straight line, but it'll go whatever angle he wants to in order to aim for you. Which messes me over quite badly, because what I'm basically doing is just assuming that it won't. I'm memorizing the angle and assuming that it'll be at that same angle. I'm honestly tempted to take that off. Just for the difference in weight. I'd switch to something like my claws, but the difference in the number of times I've got to hit him in order to make that work. Yeah, we'll try it. It's not like my shield is going to help me much here anyway. I realize there are certain things that I'm blocking, but for the most part, that is not where I need. Also, there's another crow weapon, apparently, on a rooftop I missed. The crow quill. It is a rapier and throwing knife combination. Basically, it looks like one of these sets of claws. It's what the other crow knight was using. You know, one had the 2 sets of claws, and one had the poking needle and lots of throwing knives. Yeah, that's a thing. That intrigued me. I don't know if my stamina regenerates quicker for having less of my carry capacity used up. See, this is the problem. I'm gonna have more trouble hitting him. Saw it coming. I love my claws so much, but, you know, again, his feet move around so much, it's really hard to keep them, like, in reach. That does annoy me a bit, but it's the same problem I've had with a lot of bosses, and why I stopped using the fists as much as I'd like, is because a lot of bosses just kind of happen to move out of the way mid-swing. I really don't like that that's on a weird elevator leap. At least it's nearby, but, you know, this whole... The fact I can't just run there. I've got to wait on an elevator, I've got to go down the long ladder. I'd waste an Estus if I could just jump down here. I'd waste 2 Estuses if I could just jump down. It's not like I'm getting to use all my Estuses, so... If the claws had a bit longer reach, I might have better luck with them, but I'm probably going to end up just two-handing the Butcher's Blade. Because the increase in range I get is just really helpful. Love how sometimes that's 1 attack and sometimes that's 2, and it completely messes me over if I roll through it and it happens to be 2. I'm getting to that point where I'm just finding stuff to grump about though, so sorry. Not a huge fan. Gonna try a little bit more, let's see. But given his large health pool, there's not much likelihood of me successfully surviving long enough to whittle him down slowly over time. It's the time investment that's required for every single attempt. In hindsight, a lot of the bosses in Dark Souls that I've complained about, I have come to really like later. You know, playing against them on my own time. But there are some, like Gale, for instance, that still, to me, have the problem of his health pool is just too big. Nope, I'm not gonna get to attack again. Will you hold still? Every part of you that I can hit doesn't hold still. Boss Design 101, give me an opening. It seems like they want me to attack his front legs, which is a stupid idea. Every other quadrupedal boss I've ever fought in Dark Souls, rule 1 has always been hind legs or tail. Oh, I forgot I could shield with that. But also rule 1 has always been lock on because you'll hit every attack that way, but you know, I guess that's part of it, is I really don't like not locking on. Maybe there's just multiple versions, because that one was clearly a crescent. Keep your foot still. Thank you. I didn't want to kick, but, you know, sure. There is one other thing I guess I should mention. I normally use my thumb for Estus, rolling, running, and all those nice things. When I can't target lock, I have to use my index finger, and there is a timing difference there, but I don't know if it's big enough to be worth mentioning. Like, I normally hold the controller, you know, like this, so my thumb does all this, and when I need the camera, I can just flip it over there and do that. If in a fight I have to control the camera constantly, then I have to do this, where this is trying to, you know, do my R1. My thumb has to stay perpetually on the joystick, and then my index finger has to roll and then try to get over there for Estises, and it's a whole different grip style than I'm used to. Again, because normally I would not need to be doing much with the camera aside from, you know, when you're running around exploring and stuff, looking around like this. In combat, I would have lock-on run the camera for me, which frees up those controls. Not saying that there's any problem with controlling the camera constantly, it is just an aspect of what you are used to. Anytime you change buttons, it takes time for you to adjust to the difference. And I just generally, you know, use the other ones. Method. I get to his tail, I whip the first attack, then he lifts it. Stop moving! Yeah. Bad enough you don't give me many openings, but then you just won't hold your body parts still. His foot was right where I needed it, and then I start to swim. Whoop, his foot moved. I was dead either way, but larger bosses generally do this. You know, they move a lot. Their feet. It would be really annoying if he rotated and his foot just glided along the ground. I have seen games do that, and it's annoying. Actually, I think I've seen Dark Souls do it previously, too. Midir moves his feet around a lot, which covers for the fact that since he's rotating, it looks and flows more realistically. Because you don't want your, like, character model to just... Yes, that was my own stupid right there. You don't want character model just to rotate on the ground in a way that feels uncanny, I guess. I mean, technically, your character is just moving in a straight line. The walk animation is just there to give you the illusion that their feet are driving them forward. Likewise, the larger the entity, the more ground has got to be passed when they pivot. You know, for instance, it's difficult in Dark Souls. You can't just rotate in place. You do that and your legs move just enough that it kind of covers for the fact that you're really just pivoting. The animation required to really encompass all of these things would be a pain. Midir's hind leg and tail happen to be the targets that I'm going after. So the fact that his hind legs and tail are some of the more mobile parts of his body then, you know, kind of become aggravating because... Did I just hit his wing? Like that, right when I finally catch up and swing my sword, he moves his foot. Okay. It's... I'm trying to think of a way to quantify it. The larger a boss's health pool and the larger the gaps in between your ability to find an opening to make any progress towards damaging it. He has enough health that, as a dragon, I expect him to have a lot of health, don't get me wrong. But because he has so much health, the fact that it takes me forever to land a single hit itself becomes a problem. Because let's say I can land a hit every 30 seconds, and it takes 200 hits to take him down. That's 2 hits a minute. That's 100... You know, that's 100 minutes right there, if I do it perfectly. And I'm using round numbers for an estimate. I really don't know how much health he has. I'm doing roughly, you know, 150 damage per swing, and I think he's got like... I forget. At one point, I actually knew how much health he had, just because I saw the number on the wiki. But it's up there. Let me hit you. You know, more often than not, that was pretty cool. That looked pretty cool, going between his foot and his ankle like that. More often than not, what you end up doing in boss fights is you find a specific attack that you're able to punish, or an attack that leaves an opening. You rinse and repeat, you wait for the boss to do that attack, you hit them. That generally ends up being how people do boss fights. Midir moves enough that you don't... I'm not finding a single specific attack that leaves me an opening, as much as just try to get under him and just hang around near his leg until I get a chance. I could have stayed under there a bit longer with that. Lunge. He seems to be locked into his direction when he pulls back. I didn't know you could do that. How many hits is that? That was very well animated though. I love that. It blended so well into the subsequent roar that he made. And then the lunge forward. See, I love the animations and the movements that Midir has. I should not have flipped away from you. I want to get back here. And you don't want me to get back there. Because you're a smirk predator and you know not to let things under you. Lunge. See, I get a couple free... Well, I get at least one free hit. That second one came with a risk. Oh. I seem to have my best luck when I'm able to get under him and keep him doing melee swings. Assuming he doesn't have a second form or some surprise tactic that he's going to go pulling. Like suddenly learning to fly. I love Soul of Cinder and Slave Knight Gale, with the caveat that Slave Knight Gale has way too much health, and Soul of Cinder having a phase 2. I would have loved to have fought phase 2, but by the time I finally got through phase 1, I don't want to have to fight phase 1 again every single time I want to practice phase 2. Phase 1 had enough health to be a standalone boss in its own right. And generally, I am more of the camp that when you have multi-phase bosses, each phase, the total combined health of all the phases should be, a little bit more than a single phase boss, but not so much that each phase is itself the health of an entire boss. Yay, more laser! Yay, one of your legs dragged in the air a bit lower. Move leg, move leg! Thank you, leg! I got stuck on his hitbox. I'm so glad his tail doesn't hurt you when he's flailing around like that. It'd be realistic, but it'd be kind of an insult to injury thing. Hold still, hold still, hold. Nope. See, every time they give you just enough time to get to it, and then it moves. Sometimes it makes me feel like they intentionally timed it as to not give you an opening. Because, why not go the complete opposite direction of what standard boss design would say? Your player needs an opening. If the player can't hit the boss, the player becomes upset at not hitting the boss. There's so many times that I'm safely standing there but just unable to reach him because his tail lifted up out of the way. Or his foot decided at the last second that it's going to move 5 feet in one direction or the other. I was too far under you for that. Your entire body just pushed me out to where you could reach me. Thank you. I've got no Estus left. He's got 80% of his health left. There ain't no beating that. Not on that attempt. But yes, as you can see, Midir is not a boss that I'm coming to like. Artistically, aesthetically, etc., I love the animations. I love that the fight feels different. The way he berserks around the field. My three biggest complaints. One, you seem to have just enough time, and this is because I have so much stamina. I don't know what it would be like for somebody with base stamina. Just enough time to run up to him, get your sword pulled back, and then he moves. And it's more attacks just because the timing seems precisely there to mess me over, just because. I understand from the animation standpoint why his legs move around a lot, why his tail moves. It would be really weird if his tail just dragged the ground constantly. It wouldn't. It would lift before he moves. That's all fine. The aggravating part is just the fact that it either coincidentally times up with when I happen to get there, or somebody intentionally designed it with that in mind. I don't know. The boss is hard enough in its own right that you don't need to make the mechanics themselves something I'm fighting to. Second complaint, the lack of lock-on points in the feet that many other dragons, even in Dark Souls 2, had. Tied in with this is the fact that the camera lock-on breaks so easily in Dark Souls 3. I honestly suspect that somebody on the dev team thought, hey, you know what would be difficult? What if we made the player have to fight with the lock-on too? That's more mechanical, that's more skill. No, that's Alright, started to call. That's aggravating. That would be like the random trip mechanic that ticked so many people off in Smash Brothers. I think it was Brawl. Yeah, it was Brawl. Yeah, it adds an extra, ooh, look at this, but it feels less controlled by the player. If in Dark Souls, every time I raised my shield, there was a chance that I failed to raise my shield, then generally the player would cease to, well, they'd be very grumpy. You expect that when you push button A happens. If there was a chance that when I hit R2, that he instead did that, I would never be able to, you know, do any sort of, anything relating to timing. So likewise, the camera lock-on shouldn't be a mechanic that the player feels like they're having to fight. Now, there's one thing I approve of. I kind of like that if you lose line of sight, I forgot you were there, that the target lock, you know, tries to break. That's fine. What I don't like is when an enemy just happens to move enough while remaining on screen that you lose target lock. To me, that's just not mechanically rewarding. And it's not predictable enough for the player to work around. It just feels random. There's certain bosses that you then just can't lock onto, like Last Demon, Demon King, whatever it was called. Not Demon Prince from the DLC, the end-game one down in Smoldering Lake. Old Demon King, I think. He was over here, I think. Yeah, Old Demon King. You couldn't lock onto him. And he was small enough that it really didn't generally cause a problem. He didn't jump around the arena a lot. But when you get to stuff like Midir and dragons that like to leap and fly and move around, you kind of want to be able to keep track of them. One idea would be to have a soft camera lock, I guess, where it would seek to keep them, keep the target on your screen, but then give you free range to move the camera to position them anywhere on the screen. So like if it jumps behind you, your camera would rotate around. I don't know, that may feel worse, having half control of your camera. Even if it was there's a button you can hold down, and as long as you're holding down the button, the camera will follow it. You know, that could be neat. You could not use the joystick click for that, though, because, you know, it'd be really hard to play with that held down. Because it's a joystick, you'd end up wibble-wobbling it around on your own. But yeah, generally the fact that it seemed like I'm fighting to ever even get a chance to hit him, I run up, start to swing, and he moves. But if I use a faster weapon like my claws, they don't have the reach that's needed to actually hit him. Which is an aggravation in of itself, but I like that they do 11 fire damage. That's amusing. You know, this takes so long to swing, I'd never get a chance. I don't know, I'm just messing around at this point. Trying to think of if there's a weapon that's got a larger reach. I mean, there's always stuff like the katanas. But, you know, that's more of a stab. You know, you could do Great Axe. But again, it's so slow. I could start just doing that, and I could hit him from underneath instead of having to aim for his legs, but it leaves me a bit more open to counterattack. But yeah, the lock-on issue is more of a general critique for Dark Souls 3. I feel like somebody wanted to make that a mechanic that the player would have to fight to add difficulty. Otherwise, somebody just dropped the ball somewhere and didn't test their target lock enough. I'm not touching the controller, he's doing that on his own. The game's trying to keep his foot on the floor, but it keeps phasing through and it messes with the positioning. But the camera control is one main critique, and the other one's the fact that he just seems to, when I finally get to run up to him to attack, his foot or tail, etc., moves and then makes me just stand there whiffing multiple attacks in a row. In some cases, because he looks like he's almost in range, but not. You know, that's a little bit of a depth issue. Like, I feel like I could hit those roots from here. And you see, you know, some of them I am and sometimes I'm not because I'm just short of it. It's really random rambling at that point, but I feel like that's causing me some trouble. I'll probably start trying to do a jump attack from underneath. It'll be slower, but I can guarantee a hit at least. But I can only do it one-handed because that doesn't help me with range. And I could do that, but, you know, that's not hugely helpful. But yeah. So that's a thing. I'm just gonna try a thing real quick. I doubt it's gonna do me much good, but... Wow, 37 damage. Even if I had that kind of patience, I can't carry that many arrows. Let's try this. I doubt this will do very well, but, you know, there's always the chance that his body is just high enough that it catches the blade sweet spot and does extra damage. Yeah, that's not working. I'm gonna try this, just only using R2 because the jump will give me a little bit more vertical clearance. Maybe I can hit his belly. If it does at least, you know, well, it has to do more than an R1. I love how sometimes he manages to just randomly do that. Nope. R2s really don't do that much extra damage in this game. Why would anyone ever use the R2 then? It's slower, and it does negligible amounts of damage. Yay, 185, when I could do... Oh, okay, never mind, it's... My R1 doesn't do as much damage as I thought it was doing. Dead. I misjudged the amount the R1 was doing. I thought the R1 had been doing 158, so 180 wasn't really that big of a jump, but 130 to 180 is a pretty big jump. I stand corrected. So yeah, that ain't working.